Hey everyone, I'm Case Aiken, and I am starting off this Superman Analogue video with a big spoiler warning for a great comic that was published 20 years ago. Today I want to talk about Dynaman from James Robinson's fantastic Elseworld series, The Golden Age. Now, Dynaman isn't exactly a character invented for the book. Rather, he is a heavily modified version of one. Specifically, he's an updated version of Dan the Dynamite, sidekick to hero TNT. The Golden Age is set after World War II, where all the heroes have come home from the war and are finding their lives a little more complicated in the reprehensible HUAC, House of Un-American Activities Committee, era of America. People have gotten older, dreams have been shattered, and some lost their emotional rocks. Dan, the once Dynamite, was recruited by the Americommando to become a new breed of hero that Americans could look up to. They used tissue samples from the Golden Age atom, along with other subjects to augment the already explosive hero. They transformed Dan into a being with impossible strength and speed, as well as the power of flight. His durability was only limited by his theoretically limitless stamina. He was a beacon for everyone, a symbol of a hero who didn't hide behind a mask. Combined with his explosive fists, the character was the most powerful hero ever in a world without Superman. And this is where the spoilers kick in like, whoa. Seriously, stop if you don't want to be spoiled for a 20-year-old comic. We good? Okay. So, the Americommando was actually the brain-swapping Ultra-Humanite, a Golden Age villain. He positioned himself to become a powerful politician and placed the brain of his ally into a newly created body of a virtual god. That ally being Adolf Hitler. So, bam! The greatest real-world villain of the era was in the body of the most powerful hero to date. They used their position to try to eliminate threats, but when revealed, decided just to murder everyone, and came up pretty close. Fortunately, Alan Scott showed up to hold off Dynaman. The battle is epic, and involves so many forgotten characters getting their moment to shine. It's the thing that cemented my love of the Golden Age Green Lantern, not to mention Johnny Quick, who was the POV for the book. I highly recommend anyone who hasn't read it to check it out. And I should note that even with the twist spoiled, the book is fantastic. I reread it often. If you haven't but enjoy these Superman Analogue videos, please read it, check it out. Nowadays, it's often listed as JSA, The Golden Age, but whatever's on the cover, the story is amazing. Now for those worried, Dan the Dynamite lived on in the mainstream DC Comics, being a part of a team of aged sidekicks called Old Justice, that had the occasional run-in with Young Justice. Now this is where I'm going to go off script a little bit, because back when I was doing these as semi-daily Twitter threads, it didn't feel like such a big deal to detour into some Nazi-themed villains that were utilizing the Superman archetype in negative ways. But I don't want to make multiple weeks of videos about Nazi characters, so I'm just going to knock them out right here. The first one that comes to mind for me is an actual example from World War II, which is Captain Nazi, a Captain Marvel villain. Obviously, the character was a representation of how flawed the ideology was. He took the fascist concepts of individual supremacy that is so popular with right-wing groups and personified them. It's the dark side of the Superman ideal, the Overman. However, the character is also intertwined with the creation of another analog, Captain Marvel Jr., and so has persisted in comics, often being the representative of neo-Nazi groups now. His connection with Captain Marvel Jr. is indicative of the nature of good rising to meet the evil. And Captain Nazi is a powerful foe. Through Nazi eugenics, he's strong, fast, and durable enough to battle Captain Marvel. He has cybernetic eyes to give him augmented senses, he inhales a gas that gives him the power of flight. This makes him a villain to be reckoned with, and a very clear Superman analog. But I am getting mad just talking about the character. He was a joke when I first read about him, a farce in my mind because of how outdated the philosophy that birthed him was. However, that ideology appeals to some, and we must all be like Captain Marvel Jr. here. No matter how badly a vile ideology wounds us, we can't let that stop us from trying to live up to the ideals of heroism. Sadly, that heroism is often defined by the evil which Captain Nazi represents. Next up, we have Masterman from Marvel's Invaders comics, which was a Bronze Age cleanup effort for Marvel's continuity. Basically, he's a later attempt by the Nazis to get the super soldier serum right after the US's success with Captain America, and this one is refined and thus gives him greater power. Stop me if these sound familiar. Super strength, speed, invulnerability, and flight. I don't have much to say about this character beyond that he was intentionally a pastiche of Superman, but a Nazi! Gasp! He was powerful enough to take on Namor, who's already made this list. And as far as designs go, it's surprisingly similar to Captain Nazi. Really, it's just a palette swap. I guess both are just coming from the same angle of Nazi version of Superman, and there's only so much iconography that fits that one-to-one. Alright, let's move on to neo-Nazis. There was the father character from Stormwatch. He was a character that was obsessed with Nietzschean ideal of the Superman. He was a product of an experiment to create a virus that would kill all non-white Europeans and to engineer superhumans to rule the leftovers. He has an exposed face that gives him a Red Skull vibe, but with short blonde hair and reliance on a force field for his powers, which kind of evokes the Miracle Man style. He battled Stormwatch and was able to hold off the entire team for a good length of time, and this was one of their first missions under Warren Ellis's run, and it gave us a chance to highlight them working together to overcome a more powerful foe. Ellis's thesis in Stormwatch was that classic ideas of superheroism were dangerous, at best non-productive, that greater steps had to be taken to improve the world, as evidenced by the High and his group, as well as his later run on the Authority. It's no accident that he opened his team fighting and ultimately overcoming a Nazi Superman. Father represents the dark side of the Superman ideal. People can do unspeakable things thinking they're doing good. We need to be mindful of that. People need to wonder if they've become a faceless Nazi to someone. The last one I want to mention here are the Super Stormtroopers from Big Bang Comics, though these are more accurately a direct reference to Captain Marvel and his family. These three showed up in a story where the heroic Thunder Girl's powers were stolen and used to make Nazi Supermen. It was a fun way to pit characters based off of DC's Golden Age superheroes against Fawcett's Golden Age superheroes, highlighting quirks of their early power sets, like Ultiman, their Superman analog, being able to leap and not fly. Guess I'm gonna have to talk about Big Bang Comics next, huh? And if you're thinking that Nazis are cartoonish relics of the past, that they couldn't rise today, and that people are in no danger of encouraging it, you really need to look at the news. I wrote this in 2019, well before the Capitol uprising, and I think we're all aware that there is a certain sect of people that this kind of ideology, perhaps dressed up in stars and stripes, really appeals to. And that's really frustrating and needs to be combated. Anyway, I'm glad to knock these ones out. Next time we're going to be talking about a much more uplifting character, but until then, stay super, man. I just want to thank everyone who's made it here to the end of the video. Please do all the YouTube stuff. Like, subscribe, help the channel grow, sound off in the comments if you have anything you'd like me to do or any improvements that could be made. Also check out the podcast that goes along with these videos, Men of Steel. It's everywhere you get your podcasts or at certainpov.com, where you can find a ton of other great shows. You can also find a link to our Discord server either at the website or in the description below, where you can interact with us way more directly. But again, thanks for watching.